it's me again and welcome to the O-Asis Medic. So following on from our last week's video, today I said we're going to talk about the UCAS application. And so basically, again, like sort of following on from what I said last week about sort of my application, I went back and checked a little bit more. And again, like, so I've noticed sort of a better way to have put things than I did last week. And basically what happened was, in 2014, I was in my final year, right? And when you're in, when I was in my final year, we had exams in January and in May. So I was preparing for my January exams in 2014, sort of the summer side. I started watching this Korean drama around, I think it was June 2014. And I think by August 2014, I was dead set on, like, you know, applying for med school, or I think it was July 2014. So I put in my UCAS UCAS application because I needed to get into med school. You needed to do your UCAS or your BMAT or your GAMSAT beforehand. Because I was preparing for my final year exams for January, there was no way I was going to do the BMAT. Remember, I've already mentioned that I totally don't like physics. Not that I suck at it, I just don't like it. So it makes studying it difficult. When you don't like something, studying it becomes very, very difficult. So not really a fan of physics, and maybe that's because I felt like I didn't study it well. I couldn't study it well. I didn't absorb the information well. So BMAT was out of it for me, because if I was going to study physics, there was no way I would pass one or the other. I couldn't do like my final year exams at the same time as the BMAT. So that was out. I looked into GAMSAT because I really wanted to go to St. George's University. But St. George's University for graduate entry only took GAMSAT. GAMSAT was even worse than BMAT, because at the BMAT, you did the physics, but it wasn't that deep. I think the whole exam was like 2 hours, right? The GAMSAT, the whole exam was like 6 hours, because each section was like 2 hours. I don't know if things have changed, okay? Don't quote me on this. This was in 2014, so things might have well changed, but I don't think they have. But I think biology was 2 hours, chemistry was 2 hours, physics 2 hours, and I was like, you know, I love St. George's and all, but I really don't think I can sacrifice like that much. I just couldn't. So I decided to do the UCAS, because the UCAS was the only one that didn't have physics, and it was the only one that to me it seemed like it was achievable because of the short time frame that I had, and also prepping for my final exam. So that's all I did. And the way I set my application, there was a lot of research which went into which universities I should choose. Honestly speaking, I spent like a week deciding on what universities, but I'll get to that by the end of this video. The UCAS application is very simple, very, very simple. You basically just register online. You apply with your entry requirements, whatever's needed. And again, my time might have been different to yours, but what I do remember from my application was you needed to have a reference from whoever, like your university. If you're applying from college, then obviously your college tutor, or was my university tutor. And then you needed a personal statement. The personal statement is very, very important, because for some universities, this is what they use to pick people for interviews. So the personal statement is very, very important. And my personal statement, I wrote it myself. It's very important that you write it yourself. Even if you don't write it yourself, which I'm not advocating for, but there's some people who don't write it themselves, but at least read through it so that you know what your personal statement says. Because when I come to the interview video, you notice that there was a whole station for me dedicated on my personal statement, which was asking me about what was in my personal statement. And if you haven't read your personal statement, or if you don't even remember, you might have written it, but you might have written it a long time ago. If you don't remember what's in your personal statement, it's not a good look. It looks like you didn't write it. Or even if you didn't write it, it just looks like you're not taking it seriously, because if you didn't write it, you've not bothered to even read the thing, right? So personal statement, incredibly important, okay? And there are workshops on how to write personal statement. There are free workshops. I know the BMS, Black Medical Society, do free workshops on personal statement. Another company, Planera Med, also do personal statement workshops. You can literally look online. There's so many people. There are YouTube videos on personal statement. UCAS has tips on personal statements. Yeah, just look through, get people to read through your personal statement. I got my aunt, who's a doctor in America, to look through my personal statement. She's not even in the UK, but I mean, a personal statement is a personal statement, okay? So anyone can read it, mom, sister, friend, whatever. Get people to read through it. It's very, very important, okay? And then I talked about reference already. And then what else was there? And then for me, it was the UCAS. But I think if you're doing the BMAT or the GAMSAT, then I think you need to get that sorted before you apply. And I think that was it. In terms, I can't quite remember anything else. And even if that wasn't it, also the most important, and then your grades. Forgot about that. If you don't have grades, like if I obviously already had my A-level grades, and I had provisional grades for my my degree, but if you don't have a degree and you're doing your A-levels, then you'll have provisional grades. When I applied to not even med school, when I applied to through UCAS for any course, you'd need like your predicted grades. So predicted grades are incredibly important. I know there are some teachers who are quite nice and they know like potentials of students. Some of my friends had this, like they hadn't hit the grade yet. So let's say they want a B, but their teachers would give them like an A star or an A for their predicted grades because the teachers knew that they could make it. But it is important that you make those grades, or at least you try to get as close as you can, because if you're sitting on a B and your teacher likes you, or for whatever reason give you like a higher predicted grade, and you don't make that grade, then you probably won't get that university, because those predicted grades are basically what the university is expecting you to get. Sometimes your offers, I got an offer when I was in for my first degree from Royal Holloway, and it was like below the grade. So my predicted grades, or let's say they were an A, but I actually got an offer for a B. So some universities will actually give you an offer regardless of like what grades they expect you to get, or what grades your predicted grades are. But what I'm trying to say is the predicted grades are basically a marker for the university. So if they say you need to get an A to get into the university, believe me, you need to get an A to get in, or they won't give you the place. Anyway, that's that to the side. So a personal statement, I've talked about attending workshops. I think this video is going to be pretty short because the UCAS application is not too complicated. Extensive research. Yes, I mentioned this on my, at the beginning of this video. I think this is incredibly important. And I honestly think one of the reasons I made it into medical school was because of the amount of research work I did, okay? So because I knew that I was at a disadvantage for only doing the UCAS, I did not want to make a mistake on what university I chose. As I mentioned in the first video, when you're applying on UCAS for medical school, you only have 4 choices, okay? These are 4 important choices. There are over 20 medical schools in the whole of the UK, okay? Out of those 20 medical schools, let's say 10, not even less than 10, let's say maybe 8 take the UCAS, 8 take the BMAT, and then the rest take like a GAMSAT, okay? So out of all the medical schools in the UK, I only had 8 schools that I could apply to. For example, I'm not saying I can't remember because it's a long time ago. Again, 2014, guys, give me a break. But let's say 8 only take the UCAS, okay? Out of those 8, I have 4 choices. I have to be smart on what choice I take, but it's like, but you know, it's much more than that, because I think there are definitely much more, like 50 medical schools in the UK, and like out of the 50, there was like 25 who did the UCAS. So there was so many choices, and out of those 25, I like literally had like 4 choices, right? So what I did was, there was a website too. Now I don't think this tool exists anymore, and it's so sad because it was so helpful to me. There was a tool which basically you go on the website, you type in what test you're doing, like a UCAS, and it comes up with all the universities who take the UCAS, okay? And then out of all those universities, it tells you what is important to that university. So for example, I didn't do so well in my A-levels, like I said. Some universities, even though you're a graduate entry medical student, they still look at your A-levels. Some universities didn't look at your A-levels and only looked at your university grades. My university grades were actually really good. Like I was predicted to get a first. So I was looking for universities who would not look at my A-levels and only consider my degree. So I had to do extensive research, and this website would say to you, you need this much A-levels, you need this in your degree, but they didn't tell you what like the universities preferred. So I then went to all those, like for example 25 universities. I went on each individual website, looked at their entry requirements for medicine and what they were prioritizing. And most universities did not tell you what they prioritize. They'll just say, oh, A-levels of this, and then if you have a degree, then you should get a 2-1 or above. So I called each and every single university. Yes, I did. I called each and every single university admissions line, and I was like, hello, I'm a final year biochem student. I'm wanting to apply to medicine. Do you guys look at A-levels, or is it just degrees that you look at? And it would literally have a conversation. I'll ask questions and ask, and some universities would say, oh, we've never had prospective students from London Metropolitan University, so we don't know if the biochemistry course is like you have all the requirements that we need, but because to do medicine, you need it to have like biology and chemistry as like core subjects. And they weren't sure if biochemistry was like, if I was eligible for medicine, because they weren't sure how much chemistry I was doing and how much biology I was doing as a biochemistry graduate. So they said to me, can you send me your transcript? I sent my transcript to like 5 universities because they asked to see my transcript. Obviously, I didn't have my final transcript. It was more like a provisional transcript from like my previous years. And then some universities will get back saying, actually all universities got back to me saying, actually, you know what, 50% of your course is chemistry and you definitely need chemistry to do medicine. So you're able to apply to our university. But what I'm trying to say is there was a lot of, I honestly spent like a week or more just calling universities, sending my transcript, talking to people, etc, etc, etc. I think it was worth it in the end because the 4 universities I chose, I was very well informed and I was actually at a very good standing to get into those universities because I knew that I had the entry requirements they needed in terms of like my my transcript and what kind of chemistry courses I was doing, like organic chemistry, physical chemistry, that kind of thing is what they were looking for. And I knew that my grades were going to match up to what they were looking for. And I knew that they weren't so big on A-levels. And like basically when it came to requirements and getting to the university, I knew that I was 100. Okay, that's the amount of research I did. And then all that I needed to do was to hit my target for my provisional grades and to hit my UCAS score. And that's all I needed to do. So I was like, okay, do you know what? This is good. And when I applied to those universities, I was quite confident. I was like, okay, I think if I do well in my degree and I do well in my UCAS, then there's no reason why I shouldn't get into those universities because I was very well informed. So my message from today's video would be to you, do your research, especially if you're like a late applicant like me, and you definitely want to maximize you want to optimize your chances of getting into universities. Don't just go for any like university. Don't just go like apply to Oxford because you heard this about Oxford or you heard that. Okay, again, for me, I didn't really mind what kind of university I went to. I know some people look into things like the kind of setting, whether it's traditional thought universities or whether it's like PBL, so like personal problem-based learning, that kind of thing. For me, it didn't really matter. Again, like I said, you need to know yourself. Wherever I was put, I knew I was going to study anywhere. I was going to like do my own style. So the type of teaching was not important to me, but you need to know what's important to you. If you think traditional is better for you, then obviously look at traditional universities. If it's PBLs for you, look up PBL. But the point I'm trying to make is research. Do your research, know what university suits you, know what university you want to go to, and know what university that you can get into, because it's incredibly important. With 4 choices and over 50 universities, you want to make the right choice. And I know people who didn't get into medical school the year that I applied, who I think is just because they didn't apply to the right medical school. Because if they'd applied to the right medical school, they probably would have got in. But they probably just went for things like, oh, I don't know, because it's Cambridge, it's Oxford, it's Imperial College, it's in London, and they're not looking at the other things. When I looked at Aberdeen on the map, when I was applying to medical school, I looked at Aberdeen, I was like, my goodness, that is like 500,000 miles away from home. And it's cold. It's so cold. But for me, it was a sacrifice I had to make if I knew that I wanted to get into med school. So I was like, Aberdeen is one of the best choices for me, in terms of like accepting my grades and like, you know, things like that. And I applied to Aberdeen and here I am today. So that would be my top tip for today. Guys, thank you for once again joining me on the Oasis Medic. I hope that you're liking these videos. If there's anything else you'd like me to add to the videos, just drop me a message, or Instagram me on the Oasis sisters or Oasis. Yeah, just drop a message, comment down in the comments below, and I'll try and get to all those questions and try to answer all those questions and try and also cover the videos that you want me to cover. Until then, see you next time on the Oasis Medic. Hello, it's me again and welcome. Ooh, that's me.